good evening, everybody. It's the Cryptid Huntress. Happy early Valentine's Day, y'all. I'm so glad you guys are here. And you know, if I'm wearing my time traveling jacket tonight, things are about to get real serious. Okay, on this target. We have a wonderful show for you guys tonight. We have one of the most interesting remote viewing targets ever. Okay, you know, they're all interesting. But this one is extra perplexing. Spit it out, Jess. And so, of course, I have my good friend Brian Sang here of the Full Disclosure Now movement. We're going to go into some full disclosure tonight and dive into the Tisul princess out of, I guess it was the Soviet Russia era back then. But yeah, this is something that kind of went under the radar for quite a while. Okay. And we're going to get into all the details in just a minute. I hope you guys are ready. I hope y'all are ready for this. We're traveling back in time tonight. We're traveling forward in time. I don't know where we're going. We're all over the place. Time is not so linear, y'all. And that is actually in my data tonight. And yeah, this is one that's going to leave you scratching your head tonight. Okay. And yes, I wanted just to acknowledge I do have our good friend Gus. Gus is our moderator. He's in that frame right there. Marian sent me a picture of Gus, and so our Valentine here on the show tonight is our good friend and moderator Gus, the French bulldog back there. So, like I said, happy Valentine's Day, everybody. And thank you all for being here. If you guys would like to follow along with all of my shows and check out an archive of all of the different shows that I do, go to my website, and it's thecryptidhuntress.com. Also, you can find my social media links there and all the events that I'm going to be at. I have a bunch of events coming up, and the next one actually is going to be in North Georgia. I'm speaking at I'm actually the keynote, or I believe they may have added another co-keynote now because Stacey Brown's coming. So, but anyway, Stacy's going to be there from this skunk ape background. You know, Stacy's got some very famous footage of thermal video of a skunk ape down in Florida, and he won some. I think it was like a Spike TV type of a contest with that. So everybody knows Stacy, and he's going to be there with me today. Not today. At the conference, along with Matthew Delph and David Pardue. Y'all know them from the shows here, and those are some of my teammates, and much more. There's a lot of people that are going to be there. Oh yeah, and George Lunsford and his team, North Carolina Investigates, Harley Owens, they're all going to be there. So you're going to have to come to that if you were in the area. But that's March 22nd up in Demarest, Georgia, at Piedmont University. So I hope I'll see you guys there. And of course, a big one I got this summer is going to be the 2025 Full Disclosure Now conference in St. Petersburg, Florida. That's Brian Sang's conference. He's one of the organizers, the main organizer of that. That's July the 15th through the 18th. And we'll talk about that a bunch more at the end of the show. So yeah. Oh, and I've got more events, y'all. You just got to go to my website to find out what those are. Okay. Because I don't even remember right now. Okay. So let's to discuss, a lot to unpack, and I know you guys are super excited about this one because I know I am. It's not your typical Bigfoot Dogman show tonight. We're going into something that throws our timelines off completely. Okay, if this is real, if the story is real, if the accounts are real, and I think they just might be. It may cause an existential crisis. Okay, maybe that's why. Maybe that's why it has been censored, and there's not a whole, not a lot of talk about it. Okay, so it questions everything. It turns our world on top of its head. Okay, like all of our beliefs, everything. This target tonight, we've got some great data too. So in the summer of 1969, an incredible discovery was made in a small village in the Kemerovo. I know I don't pronounce it right. I don't know how to put the right accent on the right syllable, but y'all just bear with me. In Russia, okay, while working at the local coal mine, a miner came across an intricately crafted marble coffin, approximately 230 feet below the surface of the earth. What he and his crew discovered inside the coffin has the potential to change the human understanding of the history of our planet and refute the history of evolution. Inside the coffin was a beautiful woman around 30 years old with crystal blue eyes, which were open. She was dressed in a sheer white dress, and she was embalmed in a pink and blue liquid. She appeared to be sleeping. The miners also found a rectangular metal box beside her head. When the news spread around the village about this discovery, of course, a helicopter showed up at the site. And the coffin was actually taken out of there. And I think they may have sent one helicopter in, and the whole entire coffin, the sarcophagus, it was too heavy. So they had to bring in a bigger helicopter. And they took it away from that site and put it in some other facility where scientists decided to examine it. Now, the scientists determined that the woman inside the coffin was at least 800 million years old. Her body was older than the coal that had formed around the coffin. Because you guys remember, this is in a coal mine. Now, how is this possible? How did she get there? Where did she come from? What in the heck is going on with this? And why does this not get any more attention than a few newspaper articles? And if you go on YouTube, you can find a bunch of videos on it, of course. But this leaves us with more questions than answers. And this is known as the Tisul princess, is how you pronounce that. And I was given this as a coordinate remote viewing target about 2 weeks ago. And I have the data tonight. Someone actually hit me up this week and said I don't know who it is. So if you're in the chat tonight, shout out to you. Let us know who you are. It was actually requested, and it's something that I had already remote viewed, and I was just waiting for the right time to do it. I think tonight's the right time. So that's why we're talking about this tonight. And if you guys would like to follow along with all of my remote viewing data, it's in my Patreon. So please go to my Patreon and become a member of the Cryptid Huntress channel on Patreon. And thank you to all my members. By the way, if you're a VIP member and I don't have your address yet, I've got a gift for you. So please send that to me if you're a VIP member of my Patreon. So, of course, I do have our good friend Brian Sang here in the studio with me tonight. Brian is with the Full Disclosure Now movement. He is a leader in the disclosure movement, as a matter of fact, and he has a fantastic conference coming up this July, and I was at his conference last year. Please, guys, go get your tickets to that and come meet us down in Florida. You will really not regret it. Wonderful list of speakers that are going to be there, including myself. Okay, so please help me welcome to the show, Mr. Brian Sang.
Hi, Jessica. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me on tonight. And this is a really interesting topic that you've invited me on for, because I myself not really familiar with the Tisul princess until you told me a few hours ago. And I have a couple of thoughts from the really brief amount of research I've done. And I'm super excited to hear your data from your remote viewing, because I'm happy to kind of pitch in, like, to give like my thoughts first, and then I'm really excited definitely to see your data.
Well, this is another target that is kind of questioning our timelines. Okay, like the whole topic, it's just another part of this hidden history topic that we have. Things that just aren't lining up. It's almost like an out of place artifact. You know what I mean? Like there's been several of those throughout the centuries. Recently, in modern day, people are unearthing things that just don't make sense. Even in our nation's history here in the United States, some things just don't add up with the architecture and the number of people who live here versus the type of technology they had and tools they had to build certain buildings. It just none of it adds up. And so there's definitely things that are hidden, like advanced races of people.
Exactly, because you've got everything from Praveen Mohan in India. He's doing his own channels or TikTok or social media where he's going to these Indian temples where the carvings, and they're so ornate, they literally look like they were laser carved. And it doesn't look like it was done with human hands. They're too perfect. Hey, thank you, Mike. And thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. It's great to have such an awesome live audience, especially with Maureen and Gus helping to moderate.
Gus is coming to the conference in July,
Yeah,
she said.
exactly. Yeah, and he'll
Yeah.
get to play with Winnie the Wonder Dog. That's perfect.
Oh, great.
Yeah, we'll see how.
Fantastic. Good.
Um, Now, there's a couple of thoughts that I had when first looking into this. For one, 800 million years, that's like a crazy, like that number is just like beyond wild. For one thing, with carbon dating, and I've got people, I'm friends with people in the community where they're carbon dating like these Wayhalo stones that are dug up from Mexico. A lot of them are like ET themed, if not ET produced somehow, or hybrid human ET. And they're dated from anywhere from like 5,000 or 3,000 to 18,000 years old. And looking it up, and this is what I thought I learned, like carbon dating, it's good to about 50,000 years. So like now we're not talking 100,000 years, a million years, 100 million years,
Yeah.
800 million years. Like,
800
whoa,
million.
exactly, Dan. Like
That's before the dinosaurs, Brian.
I mean, the
That's like,
dinosaurs like way before. Yeah, that's like
it's crazy, right?
that's too crazy. So what I think is you also have to look at the time frame here. 1969 is the Soviet era, the height of like the space race and all of that. And we know that they have something known as like the Yellow Book out of Russia, which is basically the Russian version of Majestic 12's ET almanac from back in the day. Okay. And so what I suspect is they did find something. They sometimes what they'll do is they'll put out like a crazy number or figure or factoid, and they'll do it in such a way it's like a KGB and intelligence trick where like if someone leaks it and they say 800 million years, okay, well that comrade Gustav was the one who leaked it because in the intelligence brief report the weird funny off figure was at 800 million. So that's kind of what I suspect. And then I think that, yeah, they did find something and it did get carted off by their version of the Smithsonian or the Vatican. And
Mhm.
so that's kind of where I'm at initially right now.
Okay. That's so cool that you're bringing all this up because that makes a lot of sense. And the reason that we have this story today is because they say that I think it was a retired colonel or a lieutenant. They said a lieutenant at the KGB. It was in the KGB is the one who leaked the story. And he did talk to a newspaper and they did an article. I don't know if he actually did an interview with them or what. I think I might have some pictures here of the actual newspaper article. Now, it's not in a language that I can read. Okay, I already have enough problems pronouncing English words. Okay, but this is out of Russia. Okay, and Soviet Union, I guess. Well, actually, no, this will be Russia now. Or it's not the Soviet Union at this point when the story came out. I think this was in 2002. I think, or maybe this was 1969. I don't know. I don't know when
I
this
think it was the
came out.
incident happened in 1969, but it was like reported later on, maybe in
Oh, in
2002.
2002. That's it.
Might have been what it is. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Yes, thank you. Absolutely, it was. He came out public. I don't know how public it was, but he did talk to someone about it and did an interview, and that was 2002. So that's how we got the story. 2002. That is only like 3 years ago, something like that. And so, but I'm surprised that this story didn't pick up more traction, and it hasn't been blasted all over the place. But of course, we know with the Mockingbird media, they're going to squash this real quick. So,
Well,
but
on that
he,
note,
yeah,
it's
go ahead.
really fun watching the
Yeah,
USAID/CIA funds drying up because that was
God,
funding the Mockingbird media, everyone from Politico to Reuters and on down.
wow, yes, yeah. There definitely is a KGB file on this event for sure. Kai, I think that's Greg actually, but yes, there is a KGB file. Of course, there is. Okay, there's probably all sorts of files on it. It was well documented. Okay, well documented, and super wild. I mean, it's very wild. Imagine, okay, imagine there's so much to this story too. Okay, so imagine being a coal miner and having your crew down in a 230 feet below, below ground, and they're just mining away, and then they stumble across a sarcophagus, and it was so elaborate and beautiful, and it was like perfect marble, and I have some pictures here. I don't know if these are the actual. This is actually the sarcophagus and stuff, but these are just examples of kind of like what they were. What they came across, they were just kind of digging. I don't, like I said, I don't believe that's the actual one there.
Now, for it to be that deep, that does say something.
Yeah,
from like
something similar.
An age perspective, perhaps, like if it's that buried under layers. Okay, that a sarcophagus like that looks like it would be huge, and for it to be down there, that almost like makes me think of more like inner Earth civilization as well.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Possible. That's pretty deep. 260 feet, you said, or 290? That's pretty
230.
Deep.
230. It was 70 meters, and so I did my math. It was around 730 feet. I mean, I may be wrong, but I think that's right. Something like that.
I mean, unless there's some kind of natural cavern system, like with the coal mining that they already had access to at that time, that's pretty deep. Like why would they ever go that deep unless there was a reason to be that deep?
Yeah.
So that's what I could think about. Yeah.
Well, they were down in a vein of coal. I guess you call it a vein. That's what you call quartz, right? I don't know if it's a vein or not, but some sort of coal. And isn't that how you get diamonds? It's through coal? I don't know. Maybe
exactly. The carbon.
I don't know my geology.
Okay. After so much pressure and heat, the coal can get squeezed down into the diamond crystal lattice formation, yielding a diamond.
Okay. That's perfect. Thank you. Okay, so they were down there just mining for coal and stuff, and came across us, and they said that they were having a hard time getting the sarcophagus open. They thought there was going to be a treasure in there, like gold, something tangible, and imagine their surprise when they woke up. Well, they didn't wake her up, but they found Sleeping Beauty inside of it, basically, and it was covered in coal too. So it's not like somebody just went in there and kind of put it in there to hide it a couple hundred years ago. No, this thing had coal growing on it, like it was becoming one with the coal, and that's how they ended up dating it, was because of that. But according to what the story says, is that they had a really hard time getting into it, and they were rapping at it with their tools, trying to get it open, and eventually they did get it open, and to their surprise, there was a glass coffin inside, what they described as a glass coffin, and it was filled with first of all, it had a woman in it, okay, and I think they said it was like 10 feet long or something like that, and the length of the woman's body was, I think they said it was like 5'11" or something like that, or around 6 feet tall. Okay, so she wasn't like super short, but she wasn't a giant either. She was around 5'11", so that's taller than me by about 2 inches, 2 or 3 inches, something like that. Actually, yeah, I'm gonna say about 3 or 4 inches. I don't know. It depends on if I got heels on. Okay, but it was still pretty. She was average height. She was no giant. And Brian, you and I had gone over the Tomb of Gilgamesh before. We've talked about the giants. That actually is going to pertain to some of my data tonight. But I just wanted to kind of make that connection, because we've discussed, you and I have discussed before, giants reawakening, or like waking up, being held in stasis, right?
That's the the Jahami or Anunnaki, what John Whitberg says, and he's was at the part of the Montauk Project and Project Ibis, and he has free ebooks on this. So please support him via his PayPal. I think he's got his link up there. He says that the Anunnaki or Jahami, think like the movie Stargate, right? They can kind of shift and take different forms to some extent. And some of them up in space, the more native ones, or not native, but just before they came down to Earth, they would look more like the engineers from the Aliens movies, or Prometheus. But he says that once they came down here and they crossbred with human females, they kind of went native or Creole. And that's where you get that Jason Momoa look. And then now, because this person's 5'11", like normal human proportions, um, that doesn't throw me off. Okay, fine. But if you got coal literally growing or forming around the sarcophagus, but inside she's got this soft tissue organic matter that's not fossilizing, then whatever preservative they put her body in, that definitely sounds beyond human tech for sure, right? And
Mhm.
there are reports of the so-called Mona Lisa on the moon that they found, who they apparently that body might be hundreds of thousands of years old. So I could see that being possible, but I mean in the tens or even hundreds of thousands of years with ET tech. Millions of years is kind of stretching it even for me, and I like to go hard to the
Yeah,
woo,
right.
but I don't know.
Yeah, me too. We know it'd be really cool to have here Jock Doubleday. He's really into geology and stuff in the rocks. I need to toss this over to him and have him watch the show tomorrow. If he's not in here tonight, have him watch the show and give me his opinion on all of this, because he probably have some interesting explanations or not an explanation for it. Because I mean, I would think that this has been studied pretty hard by some geologists. I would assume. Um,
That's the thing is it's either there's a whole Shaggy Dog tale in their version of the Sun in 2002 reporting some Soviet era Shaggy Dog tale, or maybe there's more to it, and fine, but then will we ever know easily, because the evidence probably got carted away? Like if they had their version of the KGB or Majestic 12 or the Vatican or the Smithsonian coming carted away, that's probably why we don't see any pictures. It's so hard to scour the net. At best we have like the AI recreations and stuff, but that's why we get to rely on remote viewers like you, and then people in our community who have contact with like Sasquatch or ET beings who maybe they can give us their information, or people who can access the Akashic records, like that sort of thing.
Yeah, I know. That's why I love remote viewing so much. It's just one of my favorite things to do, and it's really cool to be able to get targets like this and to just explore it, because the data is just data. Okay, like I don't claim to have the answers to anything. Okay, but we've got data. There could be something, and I know my audience is way more knowledgeable on a lot of these subjects than I am. I'm just a channel for the information. Okay, I can't even pronounce words. Okay. No, I'm kidding. I'm kind of kidding with that, but for us to put it out there, and for people, we got the data, and then you can just kind of grab stuff, and if you hear something that sounds like it fits, let's explore that more. It's just a tool to examine these topics a little bit deeper. Okay, and that's what I love about this. And sometimes we do get answers. Sometimes we do get some answers.
Yeah,
But
and I'd guess that as a skilled remote viewer and you're constantly at it, you could always throw it back into the kind of the random pile and get more data on another session, or we can tap into all the other resources and people in our community, and maybe you got data over here and a certain set of information and data points, but then if you line up 5 more remote viewers and you start to put it together, and that's what our friends at the Farsight Institute are doing, then you get the whole projects going, and that's pretty wild. But the other thing I was going to ask Jessica, have you ever tried pairing up with another remote viewer or more to try to remote view the same target at the same time?
I have a whole team. Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, like at the same time, like not like you each are going to go off separately, but like
Mhm.
you work together to hone in on the target
Yes.
and strengthen each other's remote viewing or audio and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, we've actually done it. We do it. We've done it plenty of times. Actually, we do like what we call HRV, and like hypnotic remote viewing, or we do ERV, like energetic remote viewing, which is different. See, there's different modes of remote viewing, the types that I've been trained in, and that's when basically as a full team we'll go in and do those together on the same exact target. We always do the same targets together as a team, and we will meet in the ethers and examine these targets. Yeah, we do. It's a thing. Okay, and and it's amazing, and for all of us to be in there seeing the same thing and experiencing the same thing together, it takes a lot of practice to do that too. By the way, it takes a lot of practice, and yeah, our bodies will be laying on the floor on or wherever we're sitting, snoring, but we're in the ethers together working. Okay, so it's really fun, and
Does
yeah,
Ben
we do
say?
that. We yeah, yeah.
Does Ben say, "Hey, Mom, I know you're on a mission because you've been snoring real loud"?
That's like every night. I'm just kidding. Every night, of course. But yeah, we do that, and it's when I'm with my team, absolutely. And a lot of times we do get these like high priority targets, and we get those. We're all kind of drop everything and we start remote viewing right then. So we're kind of in it together on the same targets, and we do combine our data, and that's how we get the results that we have. We combine all the data together. So that's how it is. I'm like the one woman show over here on this channel, and that's kind of what I put out to the public.
You're the
And
war
so
woman.
I'm the war
And
woman.
Jessica Jones, the Marvel series, might be based on you.
Oh my gosh, wouldn't that be weird? Oh my gosh. Well, they just took my name. That's all.
And
There's a lot of Jessica Joneses.
Jimmy Payne was the inspiration for Forrest Gump. I'm convinced.
Oh gosh. Well, there's a lot of people, especially in the super soldier programs, that have been they base the characters off of those people, and so that's wild. I go, what a thought though. Hey Renee. Okay, so okay, what were we? Okay, where was I at? I'm trying to remember where we were at.
For the Tisul princess, right? It's kind of all over the map because like, is it this?
Yeah.
Is it that? Um, and that's why I'm so excited to hear your remote viewing data and the impressions that you got. And then, I was wondering if maybe a follow up uh, target might be,
Oh,
trying to
that's where we were.
energetically connect with the Tisul princess when she was alive. Because like if time and space aren't necessarily real, they're just constructs, then like I've seen a lot of remote viewers have the capability of like contacting the being, that entity in the quantum ether or consciousness beyond time and space. And maybe we could ask her directly.
Oh, well, I did a deep mind probe on this one. You're gonna love it.
Exactly. So you did
I
do it.
love
You
it.
did deep mind probe.
I
Okay.
talked
I,
to her.
I love
I did. I did. Well, I didn't know it was a her when I was remote viewing it, but I asked who it was, and I got a female name. I actually got a name. Okay, so we're gonna get into that in just a minute, and we were talking about AI pictures. You mentioned like there's really not a lot of evidence of this kind of stuff, but we can get remote viewers to look into it. We can get like AI generated photos and graphics of it, and so these are some that I found online, and I'm not sure who made these, of course, but this is some. If you do some research on the Tisul princess, there's a lot of pictures and whatnot, and this is a kind of a recreation of what some people think she might have looked like right here. That's one picture that I did find.
It's very
Uh,
Aryan
yeah,
from the Bhagavad Gita or the Mahabharata type look.
yes, beautiful lady, beautiful woman. Now these right here are like AI generated. That's just like a woman on marble. Of course, this woman has blonde hair. They said that the Tisul princess actually had brown hair, and they also said that she didn't look alien. Okay, the way that you and I would. I mean, what is alien anymore? I think aliens look just like us. Okay, they look just like us. Some of us are aliens. Okay, but they said that she didn't look like an ET, like I guess like a little green man type of alien with like the big eyes, or like a hybrid, I guess like a human alien hybrid. That she looked just like a typical Russian woman. Okay, from that area, and so there was nothing too different about her. But you know what? I did some digging. I found one article, Brian, that actually said that she had three eyes on her head. She had like a third eye, and it wasn't like theoretical like third eye, figurative third eye. It was an actual eye. Yeah, like an open shut eye with eyelashes. Okay, on her forehead, and that she had six fingers on each hand. Okay, so I
That
don't
would be
know.
ET. That would probably be ET if that
That,
was true.
yes.
I've never heard in the lore though, in all the reports of anyone talking about an ET humanoid with 3 eyes? Not that I can recall, at least. Okay.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Hmm. I don't
I've heard
know.
Cyclops people are a thing, but the
I
third
have
eye
covered
one,
Cyclops.
yes, the third eye one, I haven't seen that yet.
I have covered Cyclopses, and they were giants. Okay, most of the Cyclops the ones that I covered were all giants. So this article that I read, it was more of the woo side article. Okay, but it did say that she had 6 fingers on each hand and the third eye on her forehead, and so that made the scientists believe that maybe she was of an alien race. Okay,
It gave him a hint that maybe she wasn't from around here.
I mean, yes, exactly. She was so beautiful with her, but she had an eye on her forehead. So, but yeah. So here's a couple more pictures. This is just a recreation, an AI generated type of picture. Now, from what I can recall, I believe the sarcophagus was around 10 feet long. Is what it said, and which is really long. And so this is not exactly to scale. Okay, and but they said also that she had a black box beside her head, like a rectangular box. I never got any information on exactly what was in that box. That's actually something that could be remote viewed. So that would be a good target right there. That was not my target exactly, but these are just some more recreations of what she might have looked like right here. And that's kind of cool. Okay, but the description is that there was blue and pink liquid inside of this container that she was in. And it was
And a
almost
guy
like
tasted it. One of the miners decided to
yes.
take a lick. I mean,
There's always that one dude, right?
that's
There's always that one guy. We had a kid in school in high school, and I think we paid him like $10 to lick an eyeball that we were dissecting in science class or something. I didn't pay him; somebody did. There's always that one kid that'll just do anything,
who
and that
knows
was
what
that guy.
formaldehyde tastes like.
He ended up going crazy though, and he died. Actually, all the miners died.
Oh, the
Okay,
miner,
all
yeah, not the kid who licked the
no,
eyeball.
not the one that licked the eyeball. He's still alive today. I know him.
Not worth
He's
$10.
okay.
Okay.
He survived that, and he got $10 out of it. But no, this oh my gosh, I should not have told the whole world that story probably, but there is always that guy, and yeah, I don't know what made him do that. I guess he thought, hey, there's this beautiful woman in this liquid goo. Let me taste it. Weirdos, you weirdos. Okay, so, anyways, so the liquid was in there. Here's a couple more pictures right here too, kind of the same. They said that her skin was perfect. Everything on her body was her nails were trimmed down short, like very feminine. Her hands were like perfectly shaped. It just looked like she was asleep in some kind of a liquid. Okay, and that was it. Okay. Um, of course, they had to report this too, right? They had to report it. They were so freaked out by it, and the military swooped in and took it out of there and quarantined everyone who had been a part of this entire thing. Okay, all the miners, they were all quarantined and told they couldn't be around anyone. And that kind of would be kind of suspicious. I'm sure, like, well, maybe we did encounter an alien or something. Maybe they did encounter something that was not of this world. Okay,
And a bunch of the miners apparently died mysterious deaths in the years shortly thereafter, 1969, with its discovery. Right? There's like car accidents and suicides and stuff. So, I mean, that's kind of par for the course.
yes, it is. Okay. And they also said that, oh, and I forgot, she also had the kind of woo side article that I was referring to. It said that she had a star-shaped tattoo on her chest. Okay. So that's interesting too. So a tattoo, a third eye, and 6 fingers. It sounds like she was hanging out in like Little 5 Points in Atlanta or something. Just a typical person today. I'm just saying. Okay. Well, that also actually kind of reminded me too of I think it's the Siberian Ice Princess. Are you familiar with that?
Well, yeah, because when I was looking up the Tisul princess, I found the Siberian Ice Princess, and I thought, well, wait a second, they're two separate things.
Yeah.
Exactly. Wow, that tattoo really lasted well on that
Yeah,
corpse.
right. They
darn.
use some good ink, I guess.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, let's see. I think here's a better view of it, actually. It looks like, what is that, a deer or some kind of
Yeah.
antelope
Yep.
or
Yeah,
something?
like an elk type deer, or yeah. And that's like in Siberia. And so this one, it's almost like they found this one, and the Tisul princess kind of got, it's like the other multi-thousand year, however long old corpse, but that one obviously doesn't look like Snow White and isn't perfectly preserved. Although that tattoo's pretty good for thousands of
Yeah,
years. Okay,
it
moved on.
is.
It says it's a Scythian tattoo. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's she's much younger than the woman in the Tisul lady. Um, much younger. I mean, uh, allegedly, supposedly, we don't know for sure. I can't stop thinking about that comment you made about how they give out wrong information to see who leaks. My goodness. All right, thank goodness we got some remote viewing data on this. Okay, because that's such a great point there, and I think that that's so important when it comes to this. And we're dealing with the KGB. Okay, anytime we're dealing with a three-letter agency, it's hard to believe anything that comes out of there. However, I reference a KGB document pretty often, and it's a document that has to do with the 23 Russian soldiers who were turned to stone
Hmm.
by when they shot down a UFO, and that's I'd like to think that's pretty legit because I'd remote viewed that, and I
Yeah,
think
I think I asked Christopher Jacobs about that. I think either Sasquatch or ETs, or they confirmed that there is weaponized technology that can turn you to stone. Pretty wild, but apparently true. And
yeah,
I don't, am I that surprised if it's ET technology? And if you can replicate things molecularly, why couldn't you take something already running around and turn it to something else like stone?
yes. Yeah, absolutely. That's why that's where I think all the petrified giants came from. A lot of them, some kind of extraterrestrial technology. That's what I'm thinking. It's just the conclusion that I'm coming to with all these targets and all the stuff we research. It's a possibility. Okay, it's a
Well, I
possibility.
know there is that one petrified. It looks like a giant alligator, and it really does. It looks too much like an alligator. And people say, "Oh, that's a rock formation." But of them all, and I believe it's not AI. I mean, if it's an AI, but I don't think this one is AI because I thought I've seen this before the advent of AI. And so, yeah, I could believe there are giant creatures and giant trees that once were on the surface of the planet.
Oh yeah, lots of lots of petrified giants out there, and all sorts of things. So just connect the dots. We learned how to play connect the dots when we were kids, and so thank goodness because we're connecting a lot of them today. And yes, this is another one too. The Dyatlov Pass. I've been thinking about the Dyatlov Pass all day. Camo Dad, thank you so much for that comment. Uh, it was an incident the KGB covered up a lot too, and that's another. That's the first remote viewing show I ever did publicly was on the Dyatlov Pass,
And
and
that one definitely looks like negative grays or reptilians that basically did that to that poor uh, hiking and camping trip
mhm,
of young Russian Soviet kids, or
yes.
young people.
Yeah, yeah. I actually was getting a combination of ET, so it was pretty much the military that flushed them out, and that's why they ran. Okay, and I actually did a deep mind probe on one of the people, one of the women that was there. Actually, I think because I was talking to a woman, and she said that things were like parachutes falling from the sky, and they got scared and they ran, and they all froze to death, except for the last four that made it way deep into the woods. And at that point, I did four different targets on it, and that target was the one that had ET and military both involved. And I do believe, and their bodies were actually dropped, like they had been dropped from a tall building or something. They had that kind of damage to them, and one woman's tongue was removed. Okay, so they had like, yeah. Anyways, there's another. Go to my playlist, y'all. The Outlaw Pass. It's in there. Y'all watch that if you get a chance. Great data. This is the first show I ever did remote viewing. Okay, Well, Russia is full of enigmas. Okay, enigmas. A lot of weird stuff going on and a lot of cover-ups, of course. And this is all going to be in my data tonight. You guys are going to get to hear about it. I just want to make sure we cover everything before I move on to the data. Okay, so first of all, if this is really 800 million years old, this is going to change. If it is, it totally turns the theory of evolution kind of upside down. Okay. We're already working on that anyways. I mean, a lot of things that we're learning.
That's true.
Right?
And yeah, exactly. And who are we to, smirk at that? I mean, we're talking the Lyran diaspora and humanoids. We come from cat people and lion people and tiger people. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yes. I might have been a Sasquatch at some point. Okay. And I might be descended from dogmen too. I have no idea at this point. I wouldn't doubt it. Okay, I wouldn't doubt it. But anyways, I mean, I've even connected with like a Lyran, some sort of a cat being when I was remote viewing one time. So, and that's something that was here on our planet in modern day right now. Okay, so, let's cover everything before we move on to the data. Okay, so the coffin, they brought the coffin to the surface with a helicopter is what they said. Right? They can't do it by the helicopter though. Somehow they got it to the surface. I mean, they're 200. They can't just take a helicopter inside of a cave. So that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and that was 230 feet down. That's unless it was a great shot, like up a shaft or something.
Well, what they're doing, they're pulling out all that heavy coal anyway. So they had to put it on whatever kind of pulley system they had, I'm sure, with that coal. But that's still, it's got to be huge, right? And so they got it up to the surface. All the coal miners crowded around it. And they said the woman was around 30 years old and had that sheer white dress on. That's why that man decided to drink the water, I guess. I don't know. And yeah. So everybody got quarantined and the helicopter took it away. And then they sealed the discovery. I'm going to go over what the scientists said exactly. They had been tasked with investigating the body and said they had found potential to turn human understanding upside down. They were certain, these scientists said they were certain that the body was at least 800 million years old. It was older than the coal that formed around the coffin. And yeah, they said that the woman's body was 100% in uniformity with modern Russian people. Okay, so there wasn't anything different about her that the modern everyday Russians looked like at that point. And they said also, it was established the level of civilization to which the women belonged is much higher than ours. In particular, the technique of producing the fabric of which was on her dress or how her dress was made is not yet known to humanity. It was not possible. They said it was not possible to determine the exact composition of that liquid that man drank. Okay, that was her body was being preserved in. But they did find traces of onions and garlic. How odd is that? Onion and garlic that are native to the area, I guess. I would say. I mean, onions and garlics are everywhere. But they said that onion and garlic was identified in that substance that was in her coffin. So immediately after this discovery, strange things started taking place in that area. They said one by one, all 6 of those miners died. All died in a car accident, different car accidents. And of course, that one man who tasted the liquid went crazy and froze on the threshold of his own house. So he froze to death outside of his home after he went nuts from drinking the water or drinking the embalming fluid with that garlic and with the garlic and onions in it.
Okay. 800 million year old.
800 million year old liquid that was still liquid. Okay. But still, this is pretty wild. Okay, well let's just go into the data, okay, because why not? Okay, so this is if you guys want to follow along with all the data here, just go to my Patreon and
do you have it on your Patreon? I've got
it's on my Patreon. Yeah. Okay. It's on my Patreon. So yeah, Brian's a member of my Patreon, y'all. So thank you, Brian. That's very sweet of you. You're one of my OGs.
Oh, your data is supporters. Great. I mean, because it's like you got data on all these mysteries and things I've always wondered about, and then a lot of things I hadn't even heard about. So it's great.
Well, I'm given some really good targets, and yeah, I think you and I we kind of met. Like we started talking over the TRAPPIST-1 data that I did with Barry had given me. That was really cool. I remember that. Okay, so we got the data. And I have about 3 pages of data, but it's pretty good data. It packs a good punch tonight. And so we're going all over the place. And like I said, if I'm wearing my time travel jacket tonight, there's got to be some time travel involved here or something. Something to do with time, because time is a constant in my data with all the stuff that we're doing. Timelines, time bubbles, time shifts, time travelers. Okay, and I'm starting to wonder. So this is weird, right? Okay, so some of my sensory data, in case you guys don't know, I do. This is a coordinate remote viewing target. There are bunches of different modes of remote viewing. This is the type that I do for our show, so that I can have some written out data where I can write stuff down and have it on paper. Okay, so you guys can see it, something you can hold. Okay, and you can see my thought process on here, or just how the data flows. It's really not even my thought process; it's just data. So yeah, so I start off, I get a bunch of sensory data, and then I kind of like, I don't say I make sense of it, but I get the analytic overlay. So let's go over that right now. Okay, so for the sensory data on this target, and the target is the Tisul princess. Okay, what in the heck is this? We don't see, and here's the thing, we don't even know if this is real, right, Brian? For sure. There's stories. There's accounts, but we don't know for sure.
800 million years, like that one, that's just so, and then sometimes like she's super pretty and then she's got a third eye. So the accounts are already like, woo, they're all over the place. So that's why the remote viewing data now, it's like, that feels more pure than whatever's coming out of like from Soviet Russia to like post-Soviet reporting Russia. What is real and what's not.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, totally. Okay, so we don't know for sure, but let me tell y'all, if you're not a member of my Patreon, you're going to see we got data. Okay, we got a lot of data for this. And this is a blind target. I was given a set of 8 numbers, and that's all I have. And here's what I wrote down. Part of it. Okay, I'm going to save some of it for my Patreon members. Okay, but I'm going to give you all the meat and potatoes here. Okay, like the main parts, the important stuff. Okay, so the sensory data is tight, dark, avoiding, calculated, new and late, amazing, old and amazing, replicated, enigmatic, like an enigmatic, strange, and unpopular. Okay, that's my sensory data. Okay, so let's go over to the analytic overlay. And that's like me, I'm getting the sensory data, and then I'm like, I write down something that comes to mind as I'm writing all that down. Something that's like tangible, right? So I wrote down space and crawl space, airtight. And then I heard a voice say, remember who you are. Okay, so I heard that. And then I wrote down galactic, star family. I wrote down time travel. That's the jacket tonight. Okay. Anytime I get time, I'm just going to start wearing this jacket anytime I get time travel data. I'm just going to do it. Time travel, and then technology, I wrote down. And then I wrote down ancient technology. I wrote space age. So ancient technology and space age. This has happened twice recently with my data where I write down something that's ancient, but it's like space age. Okay. I wrote bubble and capsule, vessel. And then I got this weird word that I heard out loud, replicant. I heard replicant, and I didn't know what it was. I had to look it up when I got done with the data. It means clone. And guess what I wrote down under replicant? Cloning. And I didn't even know what replicant meant, but I wrote cloning after I heard that word. And then I wrote cloning facility. And then, of course, I wrote covered up. Of course, it's always a cover up. And unpopular opinion is what I wrote down. And so that's my stages 1 through 3 of my data here. What do you think about that so far, Brian? It's kind of on target, I would think, if this thing is real.
I mean, everything from the capsule and all that, the ancient ETs and ancient technology and the stars, that absolutely goes hand in hand. replicant comes from Philip K. Dick as well. He, the author of Blade Runner. Blade Runner, Harrison Ford's character in the film version is hunting down replicants who are kind of like human cyborg clones. They're more like human than they're like biomechanical people, basically. So maybe, and then you had cloning center underneath there. So maybe instead of a sarcophagus like a tomb, maybe it's like a cloning chamber, and that's like a clone or replicant inside the chamber. That's what I would think. And then with time travel, that that again makes it any technology, or it kind of makes it wide open once you involve time travel or ETs. The 800 million years thing, I don't know where that comes from, but yeah. So
that could be the key, flush out factor right there, where they're trying to flush out the rat.
That rat, that's what
With
I
the
think.
KGB, absolutely.
I chalk that up to that.
It just resonated when you said that. It really did, but it doesn't mean this isn't real. It just means that the information was skewed to at least one person to see who the rat would be.
Right. And then not only do you find out who the rat is, it also discredits the rest of the testimony, because it's such a wild number. People hear that number and they're just turned off, when maybe it's a real thing, and then they threw that messed up factoid in there to throw people off the scent. Just like calling the Roswell crash a weather balloon.
Yeah. Don't come after me, KGB.
The drones
I'm just talking about data.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Putin's calmed down by now. He's winning these days. Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, good. Don't come at me. This is for entertainment purposes only.
That's right. Don't cash out.
Yeah, oh my God. Okay, so let's go to the next page. We got more. We got way more. Really cool stuff though so far, and I think it does pertain. It's the target, okay, and so there's unpopular opinion on it, covered up. Maybe it's unpopular opinion because they don't want the public to know, because it's going to turn Earth, religions, the Darwinism, everything. It's going to turn it upside down on its head, and everything that we know will be turned upside down. Everything we've been taught. But see, that's kind of where we're at right now with this full disclosure, Ryan. We're already
there. I mean, we've got these. This is like probably like 12,000 years old right here. So that already blows a lot of all the conventional Darwinian, evolution type, history coming from after the dinosaurs and all that. We came from the monkeys. That we've already have enough information that throws all that off. I mean, you've got the hieroglyphics and the carvings and the statues and the artwork and the architecture all over the world, like pyramids in China, right? That already upsets the apple cart.
Oh yeah, I mean everything, even the secret space program testimonies and things like that. I mean, it's just, this reality is not what we're taught at all, and we know that, and it's potentially humans go way farther back. Okay, I mean, what is human? What does it mean to be human? That's my ongoing question that the head of my research team, my original research team, used to always bring up. What does it mean to be human? And it just sticks with me. It just sticks with me all the time, and I find myself asking that question every time we get these cool targets like this, and we're questioning our reality, and like, what does it really mean to be a human, and life on other planets, and I don't know, it's all that. Okay. All right, let's go to stage 4 of my data. This is more sensory data, more analytic overlay. Okay. And so I wrote down some of my sensory data. I wrote solemn, confused, tomb, and catacombs. Okay. So I thought I was in a catacomb. I wrote tombs and catacomb, and I wrote down something about feelings, like feeling confused. I personally was feeling confused when I was remote viewing this, and that's in the column that I wrote that in. I went down, I wrote old and ancient. After I thought I was in like a catacomb where there's a bunch of bodies or something. You know what a catacomb is, something underground where there's bones, basically. And so old and ancient, I literally wrote down, because I clairaudient heard, when I hear a clairaudient voice, I put it in quotation marks in my data. And I wrote, the ancients come alive. Or I heard the ancients. Okay, here's what it is. I heard the ancients. And then I wrote down the ancients, and I wrote down come alive. for whatever reason. I wrote, the ancients come alive, waking up. And I wrote Gilgamesh underneath there.
Wow.
So Gilgamesh. And I literally picked up on a person at that point. And I wrote person, human. And I wrote human. And so I did a deep mind probe at that moment. And I said, and I just said, who, because I thought maybe I was dealing with a giant or something, because I wrote down Gilgamesh, and I was like, okay, let's see what giant I can tap into here. But I said, who are you? And I didn't hear like a full conversation with anyone. This was kind of weird because sometimes, if I'm doing like a missing person thing, these are all blind targets, so I don't know who or what I'm talking to, but I just know that I'm tuning in and I'm doing a deep mind probe when I pick up on a human. Or a cryptid sometimes, but it's usually human. And so I just got words. It wasn't a conversation back and forth, words. So these are the words I wrote down. Elite, Elena, like the name Elena came up. Stored, valley, crumble, majestic, and bubble. Okay, and that's all of that page. What do you make of all that, Brian? What's your thought? What are your thoughts?
I mean, it's almost making me think like she's like an elite specimen clone replicant that wasn't meant to be a sarcophagus, and maybe the sadness is that she got buried there far longer than she should have been, and maybe there might have been a point where she could have been revived. And the unpopular opinion stuff is tracking back to how this really turns the whole Freemason history we've all been taught just totally upside down and throws it off a cliff on fire. So I mean, and then the data, it's like, catacombs, it's all, a chamber, majestic, all this stuff, it's relating to the target. I mean, you're dead on. And so when you said the words that came to your mind was ancient, what?
Elite, Elena. I heard Elena or Elena, something like that. It was like Elena. And it might have been a name. Maybe it was something else, but it sounded like, to me, I took it as a name. Okay.
Like
And Elena. Yeah, Elena or Elena. I wrote down Elena with the E, but that's just what I wrote
be her
down.
name. They would call her
Could
Princess Elena of Tisul.
Could be. I don't know. That Elite Elena stored.
Stored, yeah,
Stored.
exactly. All this. I mean, it feels like she was stored away and should have been revived and didn't get revived in time and died. And now she's a part of like forgotten history being unearthed, and she's going to contribute to very unpopular opinion, and people will be arguing about her until disclosure.
Oh yeah. Well, maybe it's time. That last show that we did with the Gilgamesh thing. It's not the last show we did, but we did a show with Gilgamesh and the giants waking up, being in forms of stasis, and maybe this is part of it too. Maybe the time is now to, I don't know, just to uncover it and discuss it. And I don't think that I don't know, did she survive this? I'm not sure, because they said that when I left this part out, is when they tried to bring the helicopter in to get her out of there, they drained the liquid out of the sarcophagus. They drained it out of the coffin. And as they did it, her skin started to turn black. And they panicked because she started deteriorating fast. And so they put the liquid back in, and she went back to her normal state where they found her. So whatever that liquid was that man drank, licking on it, it had some kind of property that was like, the fountain of youth, I guess. I don't know.
And people who have secret space program recalls and Montauk, they talk about the regeneration tanks. And apparently sometimes like you'll be found floating in a liquid. So it almost makes me think of like a replicant in a regen tank that got ditched or abandoned or lost, and for a couple thousand years. I could see thousands of years, millions of years. No, but whatever. But all your hits are in line. I mean, you even got a female name.
I did. And I also got bubble, okay, and a bubble. So of course on the next page, I kept hearing when I wrote down bubble, I started my analytic overlay. I wrote down time bubble.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say a time bubble, because then there's that time bubble technology. John Whitberg and others say that Camp Hero, the Montauk Project, was kept like for 10 linear years in a time bubble, frozen on the same 1982 like late spring day.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right, so that's not the last time data I got either, because I started doing this thing. I think it's kind of like peak. We call it peacocking. Okay, in remote viewing, it's like you get one word and then you just start kind of building off of that word. So it's like time. I wrote time bubble, timelines, time, non-linear. Okay, so here's the thing though. Okay, so I wrote time bubble, timelines, time, and then if you go to my sensory data, that's my analytic overlay. Sensory data, I wrote straight, linear. But then I go back over to my analytic overlay and I wrote nonlinear. That is so weird, right? So it was like I was picking up like the data was like straight and linear, but then I was like nonlinear. Um, underneath the time data in my analytic, it's just I don't know. Make of that what you will. To me, it just felt like this is all very nonlinear. Okay, as far as the time goes. I also wrote. I heard this is what I heard. Red rum. I wrote down red rum. You know what that is, right? It's like, well, you spell it backwards. The other way, it's unalive, but that's not. I mean, it's the other word for unalive. So, and that actually, you know what that reminds me of too. This is so wild. You know that movie, The Shining. That
Yep, exactly. That's what. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. And
and
who's
Stephen
the
King had
producer of that? Wait,
well,
was that Stephen
Stephen
King?
King. Well, he wrote the original, and then Kubrick did the movie,
Kubrick.
and King hated the changes that Kubrick did, but the red rum was actually originally from King in the books, the book.
Well, the little boy was wearing that Apollo 11 sweater in that movie too, right?
Exactly.
Riding his
Yes.
tricycle around.
Right. The Kubrick King. Yeah. Exactly. Lunar landing thing. Absolutely. I mean, well, then maybe it almost makes me think that this was an elite person by the name of Alina, who's a replicant from whatever grouping, and maybe she got abandoned there, and that's the red rum part. Maybe foul play is how she got ditched in the first place, and she was never meant to be a lost princess found how many years later.
Yeah, I think so. Potentially, maybe she was left there. Um, she was left there on purpose for
Abandoned.
some reason.
Yeah, abandoned, and that would lead to her murder or death eventually if she's not recovered from even the blue goo stuff.
The blue and pink goo. Yeah. Okay. Could be. Okay. So I wrote the next thing I wrote was awake. That was some of my sensory data. I wrote woke and awaken. Okay. And then I wrote in quotation marks, joint effort. Joint effort was in the data. Program was in the data. Enjoy the show is something that I heard clairaudiently. So I heard enjoy the show. And um, and then I wrote down I have a time travel technology is in the data. So more time travel, Brian, time stuff, time travel. And then I wrote AI, and then manifestation was the last thing that I wrote down. AI manifestation. That's what I wrote, and that was the end of the. That was all the data. But there's so much timelines, time travel, time stuff like time, non-linear. Okay, that was a big part of this data for this target tonight.
I can say, apparently, and this is from our friends Sean Bond and Isha Arzlieb, these ET type artifacts, apparently they're supposed to help anchor in timelines. So maybe, she might be like a literal living time capsule that got abandoned. She got abandoned and ditched. And maybe she might have spent some of her time in that capsule over the years in varying states of consciousness, awake or woke. Imagine if you got thousands, if not hundreds or tens of or hundreds of thousands of years. I won't go into millions, but let's say tens of thousands of years. That's a long time to be, kept alive, and maybe to wake up out of your suspended animation dreams.
You know, if I was in water that long or some kind of substance, I mean, I would get those, you know, when your
The
fingers
brain-
shrivel up in the pool. I would think that like a body, but it just depends. Maybe the secret to good skin is onions and garlic. Okay. I'm just saying. And whatever that goo is, I don't know. Just don't drink it. Don't lick it.
I mean, the guy, maybe he's the one who said it tastes like onions and garlic. Which
Oh,
is.
oh man. Well, they tested it though. They tested it. And you got to think like they're reverse engineering everything. You know, they reverse engineered that too. I guess that's what you would call it. Taking the samples. I mean, they've got those machines that you can just put anything in. And Mike Adams uses that. I've seen the health. I forgot the name of his channel stuff. He's on Rumble.
Yeah, Mike Adams of Natural News, Health
Natural News, that's right. Yeah. He's got one of those testing machines, right? Because I've seen him on a show I used to watch all the time. And he's got those, and you can put anything in it, any kind of food or anything that's got like a chemical makeup, anything, and it tests the exact ingredients, all of it, any kind of medicines, foods. So they have this technology, and according to my data, I think this is real. This now is she 800 million years old? I don't know that part, but I do believe this is real. I think this woman is I think this is a real specimen. I think that there's something to it, and I think that we should talk about it more, and I think that this should be out there, and yeah, something that we should all be aware of.
Now, when you did the mind probe, and the voices were coming through, did the voices have like a masculine or feminine quality?
It was more feminine, obviously, because but it was just like words. It wasn't like a full conversation. Yeah, it wasn't like a full conversation. It was just words were coming through, and it was definitely more of a feminine, like a feminine energy. Let's just say. I don't want to say a voice. It was more because it's all more like telepathic. You know what I mean? But sometimes I do get those clairaudient quotes or words or whatever. But
did you get a vibe off of her? Did she feel sad, abandoned, or lost? Maybe.
Well, at the time, I had no idea who I was talking to. I thought I was expecting to hear from a giant. Okay, because I just wrote Gilgamesh down. No, I mean, it was indifferent. That was a lot of times when I'm doing these targets. I know Barry's always asking me the same thing. He's like, "Well, what did you feel? Like, what did it feel like?" I'm like, "Well, it's just all indifferent to me." A lot of when it comes down to doing some of these. I mean, let me give an example. So I used to do a lot of missing persons remote viewing targets, and I never knew they were missing people because, like I always say, I get a set of numbers. But when I pick up on a person and I'm seeing people getting shot or stabbed and dumped in lakes and all that kind of stuff, I have a feeling, okay, this is probably a person that got unalived. And then I see them, and if they're conscious of me, which usually they are, and I'm able to go in and do a deep mind probe on them. And one time I saw a person who all I could see I'd seen a fight, someone got hit and died, and all I could see were a set of eyes, and they were covered in mud. Okay. And the guy, I mean, there was emotion in that. There was a little bit of emotion in that, but I think it was more on my part, but I think it was more like, he kept telling me he was locked up. He was stuck and he needed to get out. So it turns out, yeah, his body was found after that a couple months later, buried under his friend's house. Okay, here in Georgia, actually.
You helped bring closure to him and his family.
Yeah. Well,
that's a freaky vision. That sounds like a freaky visual.
It was wild. He was covered in mud. I saw two white eyes, and he looked like he was just like stuck, and like it was just. But I personally am supposed to like just kind of keep not get upset about this kind of stuff. But there is a column here where I can write down how I feel. Okay, and I do get, and it does affect me. A lot of these targets do affect me, but I have to kind of shut it all down. It's all energetic, but at the same time, it's like even in cases like that, there's not always. It can be just kind of more indifferent. Okay, it's like, well, this happened. Here I am. You got your answers. Now come find me. Send people,
Right.
you know. But yeah, it's a lot of times it's just indifferent. Yeah, that's the feeling I get. Um, but wow, yeah,
Maybe
with
on the other side, they might not have as much emotion attached as we do on this side, especially if there's soul contracts involved and it was meant to happen. Then maybe they're not as, oh my gosh, my body, I was like stuck for thousands of years in suspended animation. Ah,
yeah,
maybe they're
yeah,
more accepting of it.
yeah. They're just like, hey, you found me.
You found
Here,
me. Where's
surprise.
Waldo? Only took you a couple 100 million years.
800, almost a trillion years. Yeah, it's close to a trillion. We're not too far from there. That's a lot. I
That's
mean,
too much.
right?
That's way too much, guys.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
And but I mean, but who knows? I mean, I didn't pick up on any like numbers here, so like I don't know, but I can say I do believe that this is a person. I think they did find a female, maybe named Elena. Okay, because that did come out, but something that was stored. I think her body was just there. I think this is real. I mean, I even picked up on catacombs and stuff. So, but here's my question, Brian: how many more of these Elenas do we have all over the world right now? Are there more? Have they been
Well,
found? Do you think?
apparently there are space arcs under all around, and Michael Sala speaks about this with his sources, Dr. Sala of exopolitics.org. So if you got arcs, I would not be surprised if there's technology around. I don't I don't know if how intentional it would be, like with Gilgamesh, for example. I mean, I could see them being like human time capsules or living, ticking time capsules. Thousands of years, that is wild, though. That is
Yeah,
wild.
it is. Hey, Dan. Dan, you stayed up late tonight. Dan's over in the UK. He says, while you're asleep, 8 hours flies by. 800 million years could be a blink. That's true. Time is not linear,
Right, and if
right?
time doesn't exist, then there you go. But for
I know,
something
right?
to, yeah,
So
it's
I got on
hard
my
to say.
jacket.
Well, what I'll do is I'm going to make sure to ask around to other people. Maybe some of our people have direct ET contacts or Sasquatch might want to provide some input, because I definitely would be curious to get more information, and I'm happy to. I'll definitely share that with you. And
Yeah,
yeah,
please do.
yeah.
Please do. Dan. Dan said the miners discovered an ancient recipe for princess soup. Dang, dude. That's funny, but it's also not funny. Okay. We're serious over here.
I mean, onions and garlic are both very antibacterial, and
They,
I wouldn't be
yes.
surprised if they were found with some of the Egyptian embalming rites. But yeah, it's hard to say. This one has me stumped.
Yeah, it is. Urso is asking, was she conscious of your presence, Huntress? Yes, 100% she was. Yes. Whoever I honed in on, yes. And that's where I started getting all those words, for sure. I did. And Urso, I think earlier tonight you had asked, before we got into the data, you were asking, well, was that just her body and her consciousness was outside of it, and could it have gotten put back in, or was she waiting to wake up and her consciousness was outside of her? That's a good question. I don't know. Okay, at this point, we don't know where her body is today, right?
That's another, would be a great remote view of what happened to her body.
Hmm. It definitely deserves another session for sure, with another completely different target, another set of coordinates. That would be great to find out where she is today, and to find out what happened to her body and how many more of these are there. I mean, the military swooped in quick and got her, Brian. So
And that's no surprise at all. Like for the secret space programs, that's like ET tech. That is way up there. And then any ET tech that could help, preserve a body for, let's say, thousands of years. I'm sure. I mean, any period of time in the hundreds plus years that's mind-boggling already for humanity.
mhm.
Yeah, is her DNA able to be used or harvested? Well, it depends on who took her and for what. And they probably have done all sorts of genetic testing to that corpse, assuming that, that they do have one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they said that as soon as that liquid was drained out of that container, her skin started turning black and she started aging like a mummy. Basically, everything turned black on her body. So they put it back in there immediately, and she went back to her youthful looking self. Kind of like, I mean, people are comparing her to Sleeping Beauty, Brian. Like the
That's
real
what it
Sleeping
sounds
Beauty.
like. That's very much what it sounds like. It's got a magical, ethereal thing to it, and the guy licking the goo. I mean, it's almost
liquor.
like it's like the dwarf miners or something.
Oh my God, the dwarves were miners.
Yeah,
Jesus.
yeah.
Oh
I mean,
my
it's just
God.
so. I mean, but
I'm a
it's
little
such
slow
high
sometimes. Yeah,
It's
that's
very high strangeness.
well.
Now, were you
It
getting any
makes you
visuals?
wonder.
Like when you
Was
did
it?
the remote viewing, did you get visuals of any of this?
I thought I was in a catacomb. Yeah, absolutely. That's where I thought I was. That's what the aesthetic impact, when I write that into my AI column on there, that's where, what does it look like where I'm at? Okay. And
Okay.
so that's where I write down all that data. And so when I'm looking around, I literally wrote down in the AI wrote tomb and catacombs.
Because when you say
So,
catacombs, that almost implies there might be more bodies just right down there in that location alone.
ooh, well, I do believe they did go back and they started digging around there after this happened. The government swooped in, and I don't know, some kind of operation. I don't gonna say it was total government, but I think it was. But they said that they were going in and excavating a 6 mile radius of that place. So I'm sure there are more. I'm not saying I know, but I mean, I assume there could have been more.
6 miles is
6
serious.
miles. Yeah,
That's a
right.
serious radius. Yeah.
There was some
Especially
kind
when
of,
taking underground. That's wild. That
yeah.
sounds like a lot.
Well, they had gone to some lake. What is? If I may have the lake here somewhere. Some of my notes. There's a lake nearby, and they were around. They were focused on this lake, and I got to say, they've got some of the oldest lakes in the world in Russia. I can remember. I don't know if it's Lake Baikal. Maybe that's one of them. I think that's where they got that organism 46B that Barry
Oh,
gave
yeah.
me as a
Yeah, that's a
target.
good thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the telepathic, hypnotizing, something, some kind of entity in the water that would hypnotize and then unalive like scientists and divers and stuff.
Did you
And
connect with it?
I got some interesting data. I can't remember exactly what all that data was. I got it. I got like attacked over that one. Like people came after me for remote viewing that. They're like, "That's fake." I was like, "I don't know if it's fake or not. I just got data." So people
Yeah, it's
obviously don't know how remote viewing works when they come at me like that, but it's okay. It was something that was based off of some kind of story that was given, and Barry had the actual thing, but he called it organism 46B so people would understand what we were talking about. Okay. But yeah, it was interesting. It was definitely, there's definitely something out there. Yeah. I don't think that I made any kind of contact with it. Like I wasn't deep mind probing organism 46B.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
That's what you're asking. I don't think that I made
Yeah.
contact with it, but I don't remember. I don't think I did. It's been a while. There's a show on that on my playlist, y'all, if anybody wants to
I
see
mean,
that.
you did make contact with Mel's Hole.
Mel's Hole. We did. We made actually Tanya, one of my so you asked about remote viewing in tandem with other people. She and I did that with Mel's Hole. We could not stop laughing during that show because we had remote viewed Mel's Hole, and it was just weird saying that. But she's a good friend of mine, and we were having fun, and she ended up making contact with the tumor seal.
Yeah, the tumor seal. Yep.
The tumor seal. Yeah, it's so wild. That really happened, and that's the thing.
Apparently, the tumor seal is friendly. Other people have contacted it too, and it's
Have
friendly.
they?
Yeah.
Well, goodness. Well, she was a little upset because she was in contact with this thing for over a week, and it kept contacting her. Okay, and doing like it was deep mind probing Tanya for like a week. And for people who aren't familiar with that, Mel's Hole is a big gigantic hole that was endless, didn't have a bottom to it. Mel had called into Art Bell's show on Coast to Coast, and said that he had a hole in his yard on his property. He had put down 15 miles worth of fishing wire with a weight on it, and it was still had not hit the bottom yet, and people had been putting appliances down there, cars, anything that wasn't working, dead animals, their pets, they'd throw it down there. And one of his neighbors had thrown his dog down in this hole. And then, weeks later, see his dog walking on the sidewalk with another owner with the same collar and everything on. So weird stuff was happening. They ended up trying to do experiments, putting animals down inside these holes because he ended up having 2 holes. Okay, they're two males holes. I think it was a second hole down in Nevada. I think it was in Nevada, actually, or New Mexico. I can't remember. Another hole. The government confiscated his land. Okay, and not before, I guess they had put a sheep down in it in a cage. They put a man down in it. He lost his mind by the time he got back up.
And they had special ice that they put down that's some weird chemical property. And so, yeah, that falls into the category of messing with stuff that we shouldn't mess with.
I was just, that ice came up in my data for another target recently. And I can't remember which one it was, but I wrote down the hot ice. And I wrote Mel's hole in my data, and it had something to do with the target. So, but that it 100% had something to do with the data had something to do with time travel, wormholes, and some kind of I think it was like a portal of some sort, but it had radiation involved, and the government took it over and kicked old Mel out. He went to a wombat farm in Australia. Anyways, it's a great story. There's a show here on it on my channel on the playlist. But they did put that seal, or not the seal, they put the sheep down there in a crate. And when it came up, it had a tumor. It had like a big thing on its stomach. They did an autopsy, and this thing came out of it, and it had human eyes. And they called it the tumor cell.
And you could speak with people telepathically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It did.
It's wild. It's wild.
Yeah. So they had the tumor cell. And so y'all talk about weird remote viewing targets. That was wild. I love what I do. I love doing this. This is my favorite hobby, and I know it's weird, and we can kind of giggle over it and stuff, but this stuff is, it's kind of real life too. Okay, so
it's very real.
Yeah.
I mean, our friend Jenny Lee, her stuff has been used to help solve criminal cases. She had like a mother come to her with a person where her son had apparently committed suicide in a park by hanging himself off of a tree. And so the mother did not believe that her son hung himself. So some way or another, she heard about Jenny Lee. When Jenny remote viewed it, she said she saw not only the son, she saw 3 friends with the son. They were all doing drugs. The son overdosed. The 3 friends made it look like he hung himself in the park out of a tree. And then Jenny Lee told the mother, describe the 3 people. And the mother's like, I know those 3 people. And somehow the police apparently came back to reinvestigate those 3 people. And they're ending up in a criminal court case. Maybe they're already behind bars. So, yeah, It's very real. It is real.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh, that's heartbreaking. Gosh, that's terrible. Yeah. But we're all just looking for answers. Okay, we all just want to know answers, and we all know something's off in the whole world. The whole world's off right now.
Oh, we already know. We in the movement already know. We know we're from Lyra, and we're part of the grand genetic experiment. And yeah, we got all these ET beings. So yes, absolutely.
Yeah, we know something's off, and so I mean, why not use remote viewers to look into stuff if you can? I'm here. That's why we have a good time on this channel and on the show every Thursday night. So you never know what you're gonna get, and I've gotten in the habit of like posting it last minute too, just because it's exciting like that. And I'm busy, but last minute's kind of fun. So you guys never know what you're gonna get with this show. And my good friend Kristen Payton's in the chat tonight. What's up, Kristen? Kristen's one of my teammates out in the field. She says mass spectrometry is amazing. I'm curious to know what was in the goo. Yeah, that's what that device is that measures everything. It gets the content makeup, the chemical makeup of everything. Mass spectrometry. That's what Mike Adams always says. Thank you, Kristen, for being here. Yeah, and Kristen works in it. She's an ER nurse too, so she knows a little bit about chemical makeups of stuff. Okay, but yeah. Man, this is just really awesome. I don't know. I'm super excited that we got to cover this today, and I don't know. I'm sure there's plenty more to talk about with all this. And like I said, if you guys want to go watch that Mel's Whole show, it's one of my top watched remote viewing shows on my channel. Okay, it's pretty amazing, and these are the things that we need to be talking about a little bit more. I think in the
It breaks the
communities.
paradigm. Yeah, it breaks up the paradigm. We came from monkeys, and no such thing as ancient civilizations like Atlantis and Lemuria. And then, the remote viewing, it is taken very seriously by the intelligence agencies, the military, the secret space programs. So yeah, there's a reason. It's no joke. It's a very valuable way of gathering data.
It is. It is. Well, speaking of Russians and stuff, well, first of all, I want to say thank you to Kristen for that super sticker. That's so sweet of you. Thank you. I'll be seeing you in the woods soon. Okay. Thank you. Um, Speaking of, Americans and Russians and we're Americans, Russians, the remote viewing programs. I mean, that's why the United States military and our government started doing remote viewing was because the Russians were doing it. They had a program of psychic spies during the Cold War. And so, of course, America was like, wow, we got to do that
Yeah,
too.
yeah. We want to get left behind by the Ruskies. Can't have that.
Absolutely not. So that's how the U.S. started using remote viewers. They still use them to this day, of course. And actually, I'm really excited because they're becoming way more mainstream. And it's not only because of shows on the internet and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I was watching that Ryan guy. He's been having he went through a phase like a month where he had all the big remote viewers from like Project Jedi and Stargate and everything were coming on his channel. So it's kind of putting it out there. And I was reading those comments too, and I'm like, how's the general public going to take this? This is a guy that talks about other stuff, and they were brutal. Some of those
Oh, they
comments were
were
pretty
brutal
brutal.
about
They were
the
pretty
viewing.
brutal, yeah,
Really,
towards
even
some of
on the
those remote
Sean Ryan
viewers.
show.
Yeah, I mean, the
That's too.
ones that I saw. So, I mean, listen, Brian, it was hard. It was a little hard, a little difficult coming out as a Bigfooter. Okay. And then doing a show on it was a little crazy, right? But throw in the remote viewing. The remote viewing got me more attacked online than anything. And I didn't know anybody else that was doing a remote viewing except for I think Farsight might have been doing it. Um, but I mean, to come out independently and start doing a remote viewing show by myself on
Well,
it,
focusing on
it was rough.
cryptids. Yeah, and
Yeah.
then exactly. But it's wonderful how you're bringing your love of Bigfoot together with remote viewing, and going and doing field research as well, and then speaking with people and working with people in our community who are telepathically in touch with various Bigfoot tribes, or the Farce people. That's a whole X factor now, because there's so much knowledge and wisdom that they have to share with us, and they've been waiting. Like, one of the people I'm going to go ask is, hey, Christopher, you know, um, Christopher Jacobs, can your Sasquatch contacts please give us any input on this, Tisul princess that Jessica and I did a show on? And I'll let you know what he has to say.
Keep me posted on that. Heck yeah. Urso, this is really interesting. I'd forgotten about this. I remember this. Urso says they found a sarcophagus in Egypt under a street that had black goo in it, and people wanted to drink that too. But no one will say it's biological makeup. That's gross. That's gross. But I mean, that's like, I don't know. These are I'm kind of feeling sick thinking about this right now. But I mean, I saw where there was like a priest. I don't know what religion it was. I don't know if it was. I don't know, like a priest, and had like a dead foot, like a what do you call it, like somebody's foot, like a mummified foot, and he was like dipping it in water, and everybody's wanting to drink it. So to me, that's kind of gross, but it's all, but that sounds kind of magical, like ritualistic, like taking on the essence of whoever that is. And so maybe the black goo, maybe it was like, the body chemical makeup of some of those mummies or something. Oh God, that's so gross. It's power in it, I guess, right, Brian?
Well, you got the negative black goo, which is like the AI black goo, which wants to take over things, and then
Yeah.
you've got the more like Earth, Mother Earth, apparently bleeds or in her own way as like a circulatory system of like a natural Earth black goo or Earth oil, and they look alike, but they're not to be mistaken. So I'm wondering if that was a sarcophagus possibly filled with black goo, the nasty stuff, or the black goo more the Earth black goo, and they're not to be confused.
Yeah. Yes, you and I also did a show on black goo. Do you remember that one? That was a good
Oh
one.
yeah,
That was a
yep,
remote viewing target. Great stuff. And the satanic AI show that we did, that was so good. Such great information in all of this. And so yeah, just like concentrations of goodness, good information out here. Go to this playlist, y'all, remote viewing playlist. Uh, yeah. Oh, Rocky Mountain Skywatcher says, I guess you're talking about the Sean Ryan stuff with the remote viewers. Those were good interviews. I'd say the comments were 60-40. Sheeple and super religious people won't accept. And I think that's kind of what it was because his shows are focused on a, conservative Christian kind of group, I guess.
okay. The things that
And
fly
so
in the
that's
face.
what it is. It was, yeah, it's witchcraft. And that's exactly what I got too. Like I had people, there were some people that targeted me, and
It's
I don't
so
even think
late.
that they believed what they were saying, but they just wanted to take me down anyway. So
Yeah, they're
you know what I
jealous.
mean?
They're
Yeah, it
jealous.
was rough.
Yeshua told us to
It was
do
rough.
works many times greater than he. We were told that in these times, people would prophecy and have visions and dream dreams and heal by laying of the hands and spiritually liberate each other from attachments. And here we are doing all of that. And so it's the haters who are denying the fruits of the spirit, I guess.
Man, I appreciate that, Brian. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's we've got God gave us these gifts. Let's use them. Okay.
Exactly.
And otherwise we're going to continue to live in the darkness. And Jerry says RV remote viewing threatens deep dark cover-ups and illegal activity. Yeah, it does.
Exactly.
And so that's why. And I know who's attacking me. I know who they are. I know what's behind them. I'm a remote viewer. Be careful. Okay. I'm just kidding. I ain't got time to be looking into people's lives and stuff. I really don't. And there is a factor to all this. That's why I don't teach remote viewing. I'm no expert, by the way, and I just want to state that I'm no expert. I just love doing it. Okay, I love doing it. I don't claim to be an expert on it, but I don't teach it publicly um, because it is so intrusive, and it can be used for bad. And let me tell you, I've come across a lot of people that were so nice, and then they turn out to be really dark and bad. And so it's easy for people to trick you. And then you teach somebody remote viewing, and they go ruin the whole world or something. I don't know. It's really wild. I don't know. I know that sounds kind of
Well,
terrible,
I
but
do
that's
know.
why I don't teach it.
I know of one astral projection, remote viewing, peeping Tom sexual assaulter in our community. He's
Oh
literally a
no.
peeping Tom with his remote viewing ability.
Oh
And
yeah,
and
that's
women in the
horrible.
community, multiple have talked about seeing his head floating around, bobbing in the upper corner, like while they're in the bathroom or in their bedrooms.
Oh,
And they, yeah, it's pretty nasty. But one remote viewer can see another
that's
remote.
messed up. Oh
You
yeah.
can see each other. So yeah.
Yes, I've actually when my team was training together, and we would be at a undisclosed location at the time and stuff, and I would see like what like a hologram sometimes of like a man that would just be watching us. Of course, that house was haunted where we were, so I just like I knew it wasn't a ghost because we had ghosts there too, but that you could tell when they were dropping in and they knew where we were and all that kind of stuff. We're always being watched, especially remote viewers. We're always being watched.
Right.
Um, a lot of us, but that's okay. They can watch all they want. Um,
Yeah, they're losing. They can watch
mhm.
all they want until their payrolls get cut and there's no one paying them to watch us and snoop us and troll on us.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Lindsay. That's very sweet. I appreciate you guys. Everybody's so nice. Yeah, we somebody's even commenting again about the 800 million-year-old. It is. We are not so sure about that timeline. Okay, we are definitely not. But yeah, it's yeah, that's really sad that somebody would abuse it like that, and those are the dangers. That's why even the person who taught me did a thorough background check on myself and got to know me very well before he ever offered to ever teach me. You have to be vetted when it comes to some of this stuff. And I'm no gatekeeper, y'all. I'm not a gatekeeper. I just know how dangerous it is. And I don't want anybody remote viewing me if they don't. I mean, of course, I'm sure they do. But like, I've just come across some real shady characters in my lifetime. And yeah. So, anyways, uh, I'm glad that I was able to do this tonight, and I'm glad that you've been here with me, Brian. And this has been nothing but awesomeness. And I know you've assembled a wonderful team of people to come speak at your conference this year and stuff. And I mean, because we're all about the full disclosure, right, Brian? And that's why we do this. That's part of the reason. Most of the reason I do this. I mean, there's no other reason for me to be public about any of this, other than wanting to disclose the things that we do know. And my big thing is the missing people. Where are they going? Okay, things like that. But there's so much more to all of this. And so full disclosure means full disclosure. Cryptids, UFOs, aliens, tombs. They're 800 million years old.
Well,
But
with all the data that you've accumulated and that you shared, Jessica, you've really helped to add yet another layer of detail to everything in the movement and the community is discussing. And having that is invaluable. That's really blazing a trail, especially in the Bigfoot researching world. Just like the UFO world, they need to be shaken up, I think, a bit. And the full disclosure element, it's like we're not here to just study this stuff and get data for the sake of studying it. And intellectually, isn't it interesting to do shows forever and ever? That's not my approach. It's like, no, let's do the shows so we can wake everybody up to this fact that this stuff is real. If you doubt us, try to do your own remote viewing, check your own sources, do your own research. And the more people that do that, and the more people truly come awake and help to anchor in the higher timeline.
yes, that's what we're doing. I didn't know what I was doing when I started doing it. I had no idea. I just, I started off my channel as a oracle card reading channel. Okay, that's the Oracle of the South. That was me. And I didn't know where it was going, but I knew I was doing something. Just I got the download. I need to start doing that, and I did.
You're on the right
And
path. Yeah.
yeah. You start doing things what you're called to do, and then it evolves into what you're supposed to do. Okay, it's just like you look for the signs, you follow the path, you do what you love. You never work a day in your life because you're having fun.
Exactly.
And
Do what you love.
yeah, and that's what we're here for. I think we came here for this, Brian.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. We're here on a mission.
we're here. And our mission, should we choose to accept it, I guess I did. I'm over here. I'm all official in my time travel jacket tonight. Um, it's official, man. It's official. Yeah. We had an interesting comment here. I think it's from Moondog Davis. He says, I think University of Moscow tested it to be 200 million years old, actually. No joke. I mean, that's still pretty old. But it's not
That's
almost a
super.
trillion.
I don't even know how they can even test something to be that old. Like, how do you know? Like if
It's
it's
the
a
cold.
tree, it's got 2 million rings, but like, who knows? I don't know. I'm gonna question around more. This is gonna. I'm chalking this up in the. We need more data.
We need some more data on the time. Yes, on the time. Listen, time is but an illusion. Okay, and that's that. I I don't know. I picked up on linear and nonlinear time travel, time bubbles, timelines, you name it. It's all in this data. And if you guys want access to this, to all this data I've got right here, go to my Patreon, the Cryptid Huntress on Patreon. And yes, thank you. It has been a fantastic discussion tonight. Thank you, Cryptidville. It's good to see you. Thank you for being here. Um, Brian, tell everybody about your conference you got coming up and all about the Full Disclosure Now movement. Anything you've got going on and where we can get tickets and all that. And while you're talking, I'm going to pull up your website on the
Me
screen.
too. Yeah, fulldisclosuremovement.org. And that's for our conference coming up the middle of July. And not only do we have the 4 days and nights of amazing presenters on the main galactic stage and the second solar stage, Jessica's going to be joining us again on the main galactic stage. We also have the Day of Being 5.0, or sister event at the beach, which is free of charge. And that's at Saturday and Sunday at the very end of our 4 days and nights. Um, We've got the early bird tickets are still up. Pricing went up slightly. They're going to go up one more time before the final event, and we're going to have special event dinner tickets coming available soon. And we highly recommend that people who attend bring costumes. Bring at least one cool, fun costume. They're not mandatory, although it'd be kind of cool if we did a conference. Like, you can't get in unless you're in a costume.
Oh no.
We are a serious event, but people had fun. I hope you know what you
Oh
got some.
gosh.
You and Ben are ready again for this year.
Yeah, Ben was a beaver last year. Remember that outfit?
Yes,
He showed up to our fancy dinner in a Bucky's beaver outfit. So
Yep.
he was a day early for the costume party. But no, I'm always down for a costume party for sure. And yeah, it was so fun. It was wonderful. I got to meet so many new people, and it was fantastic, Brian. Thank you for inviting me last year and for inviting me back this year.
Of course.
It's wonderful. Yeah. And we got to meet people. I know Maureen was there. Maureen's in the chat. She's one of our moderators. That's Gus's mom.
Gus. Yep, Gus is coming.
She's Gus. She must be driving, I guess. I don't know if she's bringing Gus. So yeah, I mean, people do bring their pets and stuff. You had Winnie last year, didn't you?
Oh yeah. Winnie had a great time. She loved being there.
Oh yeah, and you're gonna have your baby there this year too?
Yes.
Yay. Yep. Okay, great. Yep, well, you guys were just about to have her last year.
Exactly. The last one. And now 1 year later, she'll be, enjoying the St. Pete Beach with us. It'll be fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, you guys, please come and hang out with us. Let me pull it up right here on the screen. It is July I put July the 15th through the 18th, but it's actually longer because of the Day of Being. And I went to the Day of Being 2 years ago. I was there with, I think I was there with Tyler from Journey to Truth, and let's see who else, and Barry Everson. And we had a great time. We spent the full weekend on the beach out there, and with some wonderful patriots, some American loving patriots out there. And it was quite the event. And I made a lot of good friends there.
Definitely truthers and patriots with Zachary and Sue Fisher and Abigail and all of them. This year we made sure, because I coordinated with Zach and Sue, to have the Day of Being at the end of our event, so that a lot of the Day of Being people can attend our conference, and then we can all chillax after the conference for the weekend. Unlike this first year, we had their weekend first and then our 4 days and nights. This time we're going to do it the right way.
Oh yeah. Well, any way you do it's the right way, Brian. Okay. It's going to be fun no matter what. And the thing of it is I get to get out. We all get to meet people in person, and share, our stories and our encounters and all that. And it's just a good way to, we're a big community. Okay.
Yep.
And
I
there's
can't wait
nothing.
to get back.
Yeah.
So many of us are ready, where it's like, when is it? But for me, as an organizer, I'm kind of okay with it being a little bit longer off, because it gives me more time to prepare and make it better.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, it's awesome. And the information that we all learn there is fantastic. And you're going to have remote viewers there. Like myself, I'm going to talk about remote viewing, but also a little bit about Bigfoot and Dogman and stuff too. But yeah, the disclosure movement is not just UFOs, y'all. Okay. It's not just cryptids. It's everything. Okay. And including this, and this that we talked about tonight, this could change our history books are already out the door. They're already out the window anyways. Okay. Our science books, history books. I mean, talk to Jock Doubleday about the geology, y'all. Okay. About the earth was potentially created. Okay. Like I'm not talking about we're talking about like, go back and watch the show with Jock, y'all. It's a lot. Okay. So yeah, fantastic stuff here. 800 million years. I'm not sure about. Maybe 200 million. What's the difference though, Brian? 200, 800, I don't know. Still a long time.
Once you get near a million years, like a million
years.
And then it's organic tissue. I mean, that's some really good blue goo. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but also we did get the whole time travel thing in here too. But like this thing it's pretty much stuck in time down there. So it's not like.
Well, and that's what I think is maybe maybe like there's time travel involved to like put the sarcophagus there, and then she's been there for a long time in linear time, so you've got both aspects of time travel and linear time. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the mystery is not 100% solved tonight, but I do believe this thing is real. Okay, and we will dig into it some more, and maybe for a future show we'll re-examine this, and I hope you'll come back and hang out with me again, Brian. You're
Of
always
course.
fun to hang out with.
Thank you, Jessica. Especially if I have more data, I'll bring that back here. And I want to thank everyone for joining us. I hope you can join us in person this July. Get your early bird singles and couples tickets now. We also have vendor applications. We're taking in more vendors. And if you can't make it in person, join us on the live stream. We'll have it be a very affordable, worthy price, but hopefully you can join us in person.
Yes. Yeah, go online, y'all. Get the online package if you can't make it down there. That's always good. And you guys can hear me speak. Okay, not like y'all don't hear me speak enough over here. but yeah, that'd be fun. So okay, well, everybody, thank you so much for being here tonight, and it really means a lot to me that you guys are here. Go to the fulldisclosuremovement.org to get your tickets to Brian's event, and yeah, y'all can come hang out with their Cryptid, Huntress, and everybody else that's on that lineup, on that roster there. And I also want to thank Kristen Payton. Thank you, Kristen, for that super sticker tonight. That was very sweet of you. And thank you to all my moderators for being here. Please hit the like button on the way out, you guys. It helps with the algorithm, gets the videos out there. And this kind of information is pretty important for everybody. It's a little weird. It's a little quirky. It's a lot of fun and super informative. So, yeah, please subscribe if you hadn't already. Thank you to my moderators. Thank you to everybody who's here. I will see you guys back here on Saturday night. We're going to go on the hunt Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern. And so be there or be square. You guys, please stay safe out there. Keep your head on a swivel. Times are crazy. Okay. People are crazy. Okay. And, but don't live in fear. Right, Brian? Never live in fear.
Don't live in fear. Stay strapped if you can. But and Woo Riders, we do have family options available. I am offering discounts for groups. Okay. Also, if 18 and under are free to get in, as long as they're with a responsible guardian who got their own pass. And yeah, we want to make the movement and the content available to everybody we can.
Yeah, it's a family friendly event. It really is. I had my son there last year, and he had a blast. And Maureen got to hang out with us too. And she and my son became best of friends. Yeah. Okay, and that's for real. so yeah, so y'all come on out, and you get to go to the beach too. It's a lot of fun, and beautiful water there, and beautiful beach, beautiful people. And yeah, you guys come back and see me, like I said, on Saturday. And stay safe out there. Brian, we will see you again very soon. I can't wait to have you back on. And we'll see you. We'll definitely see you at the conference, but I'll see you before then.
Oh, yeah.
All right, everybody. Of course. All right, y'all. Have a great night. I will see you guys back here on Saturday. All right. Bye, y'all.